Hello, this is Sally Ann. I've been making some pop-up cards and I have another pair to show you today. This time I thought they would be a little bit more masculine, the colours lend themselves, but that doesn't mean to say they can't also be great cards to send to girlfriends and what have you. Okay, let's begin. I made a pair this time, similar but different. So I'll look at them each in turn. I'll begin with this one here. I use basil, I don't know quite how you pronounce it, basil craft paper. I haven't used that much before, with some die cuts with a view. And this is a Tim Holtz decorative die, vintage lace, which I've coloured with vintage photo ink, distress ink. Likewise, I've used distress ink on this die here. And I used a Memento, I think this is Rich Cocoa, ink pad with the sentiment there. I experimented this time with some liquid pearls. I put a gold pearl down first and then tapped it flat. Then on the top I put some opal whites to kind of, I don't know if they've come out too well, but it was worth playing just to see. And I put that. This is an embossing folder, again by Sizzix, which I thought went really well, sort of with it being clocks. So I embossed this front sheet of card, which I then stuck to the brown, which in turn I stuck to the main base of the card. And this is another Karen Burniston die. So Time to Celebrate, and using the time-based embossing folder, which I thought was really cute. On the inside, this is, again, I just love this paper. It's in a pad I've had for quite a while, but it took me a time to play with it. And this time I played around with some ideas I'd seen from other people, but put together this card. Yes, so let's take it each in turn. Oh, I kept the sentiment separate. There's a happy birthday sentiment there, which I might add, but usually I like to think that people want to either keep it general, because it could be for something else other than a party, but if they want to add happy birthday they can. So let's start at the top. So again, this is some Creative Memories Rip Rack from my stash. I love these birds, and this time I decided to use the flagpole decorative strip from Sizzix to sort of have the birds across the top, and that sort of stands sort of quite loose at the top there. And I put that through, as you can see, through by using a little slit on the top there, and then sticking them on the inside through the insert itself. Then I found this, I think this is a Teresa Collins paper sheet, so I cut that out and distressed it with a little bit of vintage photo and antique linen, so I used both. And then these are metal little hands that again are Tim Holtz Ideology, which I thought were really quite cute, and a brad to match in the centre. This again is, I think, the Heart and Wings Sizzlet, which I just then coloured with a little ink here. This actually I think was a cut-off or a bit of something that I'd used from another card, and I just thought it sat there really quite nicely as a variation. And then coming down, again, two pieces of this Rip Rack face to face, a little bit of vintage lace paper, a gorgeous rosette, which I put there, which I thought was really nice, and then the writing panel here is a Spellbinders tags die. I think, again, I'll put the details on my blog, but this paper is just beautiful. It kind of, yeah, maybe, I suppose it reminds me of old wallpaper, but it's just got this gorgeous feel to it, and it really sort of shimmers as you touch it. So I thought, I'll have a go at that. So there we have a kind of, again, this is sort of 6x6. I was true to my 6x6 papers. I used a base tray as opposed to using the die to cut the shape, and I kept it square. And again, on the inside, I didn't use the long die base. I used my base, the tray, and then put this in the centre so I could keep the width of the card. So there you go. There's one. time to celebrate. Let's just put that to the side and look at the other one. This time I wanted a card that opened this way. So, and I saw this fabulous idea from one of the oh, let me just put that sentiment over the other side, where you used a on the edge die here, and then used a photo corner, again Tim Holtz, to kind of make that clip, so you could actually put that inside if you wanted to. So what do we got on the front here? Well, other than just cutting a different edge, I then covered the bit of basil craft paper here that was left with lots of, I used a gold pen and just did lots of dots. I put some liquid pearls on the front there. Again, I embossed a piece of craft paper here using a Sizzix embossing die. The Karen Burniston, I just love this die set, it's just gorgeous. The stamp, I think, is a Hero Art stamp, again details on my blog, and again the sort of paper, vintage lace paper from the decorative strip die from Tim Holtz, and again I just sort of touched that up with a little vintage photo as I did here, just to kind of highlight it a bit. So instead of it opening this way, this card opens this way. So what have I got here? This gorgeous paper again. Had I made this card again, I would probably have done it that way. I don't know what you think, but I think the design probably fits this way. But anyway, a creative mistake. Hopefully no one will notice. And then what have we got inside? We've got these gorgeous parrots, birds on the wire across the top, which are yummy. And I just cut these out of a piece of paper that I had in my stash. I think this was a free download from somewhere. But it's got a little, I don't know if you can see, like a little checkered mark on it. Then in the centre, a Teresa Collins clock, much like the other card I've shown you, again with the metal second and minute hand. I just think these are really nice, with a brad in the centre. I coloured it a little bit with vintage photo. This is a bit of die cut with a view brown cardstock. I actually had in sort of a bit of scraps really, that I just thought would emphasise the clock, and that's the same card that I've used on the edge here. Then the same paper that I used to make or cut out the birds, I also then cut out this like little rosette with my new decorative strip rosette die, which is really pretty. Then along the bottom here is again Tim Holtz vintage lace paper die. I think this is just so cute. It's not really, you know, what does he call it, cookie cutter. In other words, it's not, it's a little bit odd shaped, so they're all not perfect. There's sort of variations in it, which I think is really nice. And then I used a Carl punch die, a little Sakura I think it is, Carl Punch 1, to cut out these little flowers, and then just used a white marker, paint marker, for the centre. And then for the writing panel, here I just used a Spellbinders die, which I thought was really nice, and I cut that out of craft paper too. So that kind of sits, you can see the pop-up there, sits inside. And then as I say, this one just folds so that you've got that little feature at the side there, which keeps it closed, which I think is really clever. Might try that again, but I'm sure it's not an original idea. I'm sure I saw it from somewhere on the web. So there you have two. Oops, and that sentiment goes flying again. Two cards. Could be, they're a little bit more, aren't they? A bit more masculine, so they'd work really well with the fellas, but equally they'd also go for girlfriends and what have you. So it's time to celebrate. Two pop-up cards. Thanks very much. See you again soon. Bye.